This picture. What do you feel when looking at this picture? Loneliness? Curiosity? Despair? Maybe even some sadness? All of those perhaps? You see, I originally found this picture through an ambient music playlist created by Black Radio on YouTube. It was the thumbnail of the video and I thought all the same things you likely did when looking at this picture, which compelled me to find out where they got this image. Did they create it in Blender or something? If so, I want to learn how to make that kind of art style, I thought to myself. My investigation was actually quite short, because after I reverse searched the image, it led me to a blog posted on Tumblr by Alpha Beta Gamer. It was very soon that I realized that this image was actually a screenshot taken from a video game. But to me, this didn't look like some ordinary video game. This video game had a completely unique art style and aesthetic that piqued my interest to unimaginable heights. The video game was called Bleakstead. The blog had a download link that redirected me to itch.io, which is a website where people can publish their games for free. It is here on Valerie Dusk's page where Bleakstead can be found. The description of the game reads, "You wake up on a bus at its last stop, a small desert town called Bleakstead. Explore, talk to the residents, perform magical rituals, read ancient runes to discover the secrets hidden in this strange town." I had to get my hands on this game. Once the game was finished installing, I immediately launched it, and upon doing so, I was plopped down on a highway sidewalk, in the middle of a desert, in the middle of nowhere, with the exception being a few buildings belonging to this apparent town. One of the first things I noticed was this weird, droning static electricity sound, coming from seemingly nowhere, yet everywhere all at once. I would imagine your guys' eyes, just like mine, were instantly drawn to the strange static person sitting on the bus stop bench. So let's see what this person or thing has to say. "You're finally here. This is the very last stop. Why don't you stay for a while? Or you could wait for the next bus. The diner has some wonderful cherry pie." Excuse me? You're finally here. What does... Hey buddy, I need some answer. Oh, okay, well, he's not talking anymore. Anyway, I guess we'll go to the diner as the static man recommended. Maybe there actually is some good cherry pie. On my way there, which is within pissing distance of the bus stop, literally, I spotted a newspaper vending machine accompanied by a buzzing sound coming from the diner open sign. When I focused on the vending machine, I realized a piece of newspaper was inside. Then a message appeared, saying, "This is a snippet from an old newspaper. It talks about a highway built through the Arizona desert. The date on it is in 1952. Huh, so this is the Arizona desert, I presume? I know it makes sense that the sky's so dark considering it's nighttime in the desert, but something just seems off. After stepping inside the diner, we encounter another NPC. Maybe it's just me, but this guy gives the impression of being a bit pompous. But I'll do my best to not jump to any conclusions. Oh, also, this NPC's dialogue was written in a suggestive way to insinuate that they have a country accent, it seems. So, just throwing that out there, so you guys don't think I'm trying to be a dick or something. And I actually live in the southern states, so this may be the best southern impression you've heard in your entire life, so just brace yourselves, everyone. Another out-of-towner. Okay, yeah, this guy's an asshole. Wanna guess how I can tell? It's the look of y'all. There's another one like you. A photographer or something. She left that laptop here. Laptop? Well, I guess that confirms we're not in the 1950s anymore. That must mean that the newspaper snippet is at least around 70 years old? Probably? But why hasn't it been replaced with a new newspaper? Once I walked over to the laptop and looked at it, a message appeared. A message is on the screen. I've locked myself in my room. The whispers keep telling me to come out. I don't want to. I should go look for the laptop's owner at the motel. Okay. I clicked on the laptop to see if I could pick it up or if any more messages would appear. Alas, nothing else happened. But it did make my entire screen turn red for a second, as if I took damage or something. Anyway, let's go find the owner of this laptop. See ya, dork. Wait a second. Where's the bartender? And why the hell is there a 1970s looking radio? Oh look, it's the cherry pie I've heard so much about. But what the hell is that red lump? Is that a rock? Very odd. Let's just go look for the photographer. She sounds like she needs help. Hang on. Why am I looking for the owner of the laptop anyway? Why do I care? Who am I, the Dragonborn? The bus literally just dropped me off. Whatever, man. A store? No, it's actually a gas station. Oh great, the cashier doesn't even say anything. What do they have here anyway? Okay. Some strange red boxes. What looks to be a set of candles. And potions? Huh? Is that what I think it is? Yeah, this isn't weird at all. Even the cashier has a red rock on its desk. What's going on in this town? Okay, anyway, enough distractions. Let's finally go find the laptop owner. Where is everyone? Huh, what's this? The note reads, I couldn't stand it anymore. I have gone to the Whispers. There's a trail next to the diner. The Whispers are coming from that direction. The Whispers are near the diner? I didn't hear any whispering. We found the next lead to finding the photographer, but I wonder why some of the doors of this motel are boarded up. Before leaving to look for the trail, I'm gonna talk to the front desk clerk of the motel and see if they can give me any pointers or maybe tell us what the hell's going on around here. There's nobody here. If there isn't anyone running this place, why are all the lights on? Did they leave right before I got here? Or has there ever been anyone here? I feel like SpongeBob when he was trying to get help from the bus station clerk. Well, whatever the case, I'm gonna steal those room keys and take a look around. But before trespassing, we should stay on track and listen to the note first. We'll commit unlawful entry later. As I walk around, I can't help shake the feeling as though I'm being watched. And the more I listen to the static background noise, every now and then it's almost as if it really is whispering to me, or something is making like a screeching noise, crying out in pain. Oh, found the trail. And a wheelbarrow next to a mound of dirt with no hole? Interesting indeed. What's this? I can't use the ladder or open the dumpster. Oh, a note? This is a snippet from an old history book on the region. People from all around the world would come drink from the river. A community was set up in the area. A whole industry grew around the healing waters until it dried up, shriveled, and died. Metaphorically? Or... in any case, let's continue on the trail. Is that a bigger version of the rocks we've been seeing around the town? Sure looks like it. Looking around though, now I realize all the rocks around here are the same exact color, a very deep crimson red, which we are in the Arizona desert after all, so I suppose it makes sense that the rocks have a red color. But it's almost like people are using them as souvenirs possibly? I just realized something. That black abyss is not a part of the sky. There aren't any stars in it. It's a wall. An enormous black wall with spikes at the top. Is that a picture? This photo was taken from somewhere around here. A road leading to a giant glowing red rock. Something is written on the back of the photo. In room 8 is a woman. She knows about the Whispering Rock. So did the photographer find the Whispering Rock? Is that what this picture is alluding to? And is that what the trail leads to? How can that be when it runs straight into a wall? Touching the wall hurts. You should turn back now. It made my screen flash red again, so does that mean the laptop hurt me earlier? And how does the wall hurt me? And what's wrong with that cactus? A decaying corpse. I feel uneasy looking at it. Is the game referring to a cactus species? I know better. That's just me being optimistic. Anyway, let's check out room 8 and find the woman who can tell us about the Whispering Rock. On my way there, I noticed a trail leading to another structure, but I'll check that out later. Finally, hopefully she can tell us something. Alright, here we go. You are finally here. She heard the whispers. Do you hear them too? The whispers are all around us. If you want to know where she went, then I'll need you to get me some things. Get everything on the list on the desk, then return to me. Okay, this is only a little sketchy. Only a little bit. Another damn rock? Are you serious? Items required. Candles, memories and ash, bleed a stone, a corpse's rib. The Whisperer's face? What does an old woman want with a corpse's rib? And how is this going to help me find the photographer? Something's not right about any of this. It feels very wrong. Oh, there's a book lying on the ground. Titled Bleakstead. There looks to be pages missing from this book. Did that loose page from behind the diner come from this book, I wonder? Although, come to think of it, I think I know where we might be able to find a corpse's rib. Aha! So that's what the lady actually meant, was to get a plant ingredient. Corpse's rib. Right? Break off a rib? I break off a rib. I feel I have done something terrible. Oh boy. Somehow, some way, I got a feeling that this isn't the name of a plant. Well, let's go get our candles then. It's a good thing we saw some earlier at that gas station. Yes, the candles are over there, on the shelf. They've already been paid for. Just take them. They've already been paid for? What the hell is that supposed to mean? Thanks, I guess? These are ritual candles. I pick up the candles. They feel strangely cold and heavy. Why do they feel heavy? That's a very peculiar detail. Alrighty, anyways, moving on now to find the memories in ash, bleed a stone, and find the Whisperer's face. Whoa, what's going on here? Why is everything so red? Oh, it's the candles we collected. They're lit. Strangely, I can't enter the room anymore. And what on earth is going on here? What are we performing, the Black Sacrament? Jokes aside, what's actually going on? Are we unknowingly performing some kind of ritual? Why don't I get a say in this? What if we're summoning Skeletron or something? Oh wait, I almost forgot. I haven't checked any of the motel rooms. We should go ahead and look around while we're already here. Room 1. It's a lot more organized than I imagined. And there's another one of those damn rocks. Aside from the rock, there's nothing really in here. Even the bathroom is empty. There's nothing in the refrigerator either. There is a TV displaying static though, meaning that it's lost its signal, I suppose. Either because there's no signal way out here in the desert, or because it's nighttime and the broadcasts have ended for the night. But why does the town seem like it's stuck in the 70s or 80s? Why aren't these TVs flat screened when we know that the photographer's laptop is in the diner, suggesting that the time period is in the 2000s? However, even more strange is the fact that no one is renting this room, since we literally stole the key. So why is the TV left on? On to room 2. Okay, well, scratch that, it's boarded up. Although if you try and look through the window, a message appears, simply saying, "There's something in here," so I'm guessing we'll eventually gain access to this room. Room 3 is almost exactly the same as room 1, except the rock on the nightstand is slightly smaller for some reason. And there isn't a mirror on the dresser this time. Overall, not many differences between the rooms, but the rocks seem like they're strangely placed on purpose. Did the clerk place these here as an amenity? Or did the residents leave them behind? Room 4 is the room with the photographer's note on the door from earlier, and it's inaccessible unfortunately. On to room 5. Once again, the room is the exact same as room 1, with the exception being the rock is even smaller this time. Room 6 is also boarded up and inaccessible. However, if you look through the window, a message will appear, saying, "I'm not sure what I'm looking at in here." Despite the message, it appears to be a room full of doors with the number 6 on them, exactly like the front door of room 6. I have some pretty wild theories as to what this room could be or mean, but we'll save that for the speculation side of the video because it gets a little lengthy. Alright, the final unexplored room, room 7. Let me guess, more rocks? I'm tired of seeing rocks, it's driving me crazy. Is that a person? Like, an actual person? Why aren't they static white noise? Oh, there's 2 people, and are they playing video games? They don't seem to give any dialogue, they just sit there, but they can't be playing video games as I don't see anything other than the red words on the screen. I say it looks like words on the screen because it looks really similar to the laptop screen in the diner when it had the message from the photographer. However, I can't click on the computer screen and activate any messages as it doesn't have the option to. It seems to me that they are both female and the one wearing black is maybe the mother? Another interesting detail is the fact that the mother appears to be wearing a religious habit that nuns typically wear. But I can't tell if she's wearing a hood or if that's actually her hair, as her hair is as dark as her outfit, so it's difficult for me to distinguish the two. As for the daughter, she seems to be wearing normal clothing. It's obvious she isn't wearing a hood because it looks a lot more like hair. Nevertheless, I'm going to step away from these two because they're kind of creeping me out. Just like all the other motel rooms, there isn't anything of importance inside of the bathroom, it's just empty, and the TV is also displaying static. Is that what I think it is? Yes. Yes, it is. An extremely tiny rock. I'm starting to think that these rocks are seen as souvenirs in this town, like maybe the motel employee or owner replaces these rocks whenever the guests take them once they leave. Nonetheless, I didn't find anything on the list in any of these rooms, so the only possible place I know these items could be is in that strange structure we saw earlier. So let's go hit the trail. Bleakstead Trailer Park. Oh, I don't like this one bit. Nothing in here. That's strange, I can't open the little closet door. Nothing in here either. That doesn't look good. This appears to be a piece of diary entry. Grandmother used to tell us stories of the old ones. When the matriarch of dirt passed on, she bled out into the earth. Nails and teeth became the mountains, her flesh the sand, and her blood the river. Just when I thought this place couldn't get any weirder. What on earth happened here anyway? The trailer looks as if it was burnt up. Burnt remains. I scraped the remains from the ground and placed them into my bag. Those are the memories in ash? Memories of what? A strange red mask. Yeah, you can say it's strange, alright. I pick up the mask. I feel like I'm being stared at. Okay, so did this mask belong to the person that might have burnt this trailer down? Or... Let's just get the last item and get out of here. This place is really starting to give me the creeps. All we need to do now is bleed a stone, apparently, although I have no clue what that means. Anyone home? Is that blood? It's the little vials of liquid from the gas station. Are they making some sort of potion and selling it locally? At least, I hope it's a potion. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something about this trailer park is very unnerving. The fact that nobody's here makes it very tense, like something is about to pop out at any second. Okay, 2 more trailers left to check. Well, there's nothing in the bedroom. And we can't open the closet door. Oh hey, look at that! There isn't blood in the sink this time. More vials? This whole vial thing is really confusing me. I have no idea what these could be used for, and I don't think I want to know. What's that? This rock has been skewered by daggers. Pull the dagger out. I pull the knife from the rock. The blade is covered in blood. The rock bleeds out into the earth. What? Since when did rocks bleed? Wait, it makes sense now. This rock is right behind the trailer with the blood in the sink. Yep. So whoever lived here was stabbing this rock to collect its blood? Alright, we have all the items on the list, but let's check this last trailer to see if there's anything interesting. It's exactly the same as all the others, except there are also vials in the refrigerator. But I'm getting the hell out of this park. This place is really starting to get to me. Let's just go finally see why the woman needed all this. After returning to room 8, I notice a pentagram-like symbol is on the ground. Furthermore, it seems the Dark Brotherhood Black Sacrament joke I made earlier wasn't too far off the mark. I mean, what is this? It looks eerily similar. Anyways, the room now gives the message, begin the ritual. After initiating the ritual, my screen cuts to a top-down view of room 8, and my screen briefly turns red once again. The ritual is complete. Check room 4 for a device that'll let you reveal secrets. Huh? Now that's strange. There's a red mist emanating from the ritual circle, we'll call it? Forgive me, I'm not quite up to snuff on ritual practices. Filled with unease, I slowly make my way to room 4, just now realizing this is one of the motel rooms we couldn't enter earlier, and also the room with the photographer's note left on the front door. But now, the door is blown wide open. Hesitant to step inside, I muster up the courage to do so, thinking this is where I'll finally be hit with a jump scare. What awaited inside was far more strange than I could have imagined. The room is absolutely wrecked, with empty Polaroids strewn about. However, interestingly, there are 6 Polaroids with intriguing pictures on them. Let's start with the one closest to the door and work our way to the back of the room. I'll also zoom in a bit so we can see the pictures a bit better. A photo of a bizarre temple, a photo of a temple, a photo of a shed, a photo of a strange door, a photo of a bizarre structure, a photo of strange spires. I have to say that the structures in these photos are really ominous looking. They give me ancient alien technology vibes, like there's an impending doom looming over the photos. It feels almost dangerous to even be viewing them. At the foot of the bed also lies a camera, and when you focus on it, an old camera, and once I click, press E to look through the camera's viewfinder. So this is the secret revealing device? And I'll go out on a limb here and assume these pictures that were taken are the secrets I need to discover? Except the room being in disarray, just like all the other rooms, there really isn't anything in here that's out of the ordinary. So I guess we'll go out and try the camera. Hang on, something's off. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Something to do with this room. The rock. Where is the rock? After about 10 minutes of rummaging around the room, turns nothing up. There isn't a red rock in this room, unless it fell under the bed when the nightstand was flipped over. As a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking of it, why the hell is this room a mess anyway? I mean, everything in here has been flipped over, besides the bed, and the photographer and the red rock are both missing. I can only assume the photographer took the rock with her when she followed the whispers, which is now making me understand these photos a bit more. These pictures are likely leading me to the whispers. I can only tell where a few of these were taken. The photo of a temple appears to be taken from the road, so that temple has to be somewhere along the road, of course. The photo of the shed appears to be right next to the mound of dirt behind the diner, and the photo of the strange door has to be the most obvious one. The walls around the strange door are pitch black, and there is also a trail behind the diner leading into a massive black wall. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we figured that one out. Now, the other three pictures I'm completely clueless on. At any rate, let's go find this photographer. At this point, I wasn't exactly sure how the camera worked. I didn't know if I had to click anything or if the structures would just appear while looking through the camera like binoculars or something. Regardless, before I go over to the mound of dirt, I check along the roadside while I'm there. And what do you know? I spot a red light far off in the distance, in the direction of the trailer park. I don't remember seeing that, so I approached the red light with caution. I noticed a little dot appeared on the center of my screen, so I decided to click my mouse, and what happened next was just bizarre. As a matter of fact, this is literally the bizarre structure from one of the pictures in room 4. And a bizarre structure indeed. That's the perfect word to describe something like this. It just looks so alien. I try to find a way to maybe go inside, but I can't find any entrance point, nor can I get high enough to where I can jump inside. The camera doesn't do anything else either, as far as I can tell. After stepping pretty far back to get a better look at the structure, I stumble upon another red light. Whoa, that is terrifying. What could these structures mean, I wonder? It makes me think they have to be ancient to be here like this, right? It's writing. I can't read these runes. Placing my head on the text, words dig their way into my brain. We watched her bleed out into the dirt. We pressed our faces into the ground. The faint moonlight overhead. What? The loose pages lying around Bleakstead, those had to be written after someone read these runes. That, or it's passed down generational knowledge of the town's past. It's telling a story, but who made the temples and structures in the first place? And why tell the story so cryptically? And where did the people go? Or, more horrifyingly to consider, they may have not been people in the first place. After walking around the temple trying to find anything important, I saw something that was quite fascinating. I noticed what seemed to be a sphere between the tips of the two pyramids. I tried to walk up the bottom of the pyramid like a staircase, but ran into an invisible wall. So instead, I climbed on top of the wings to see if I could jump over the boundary, and lo and behold, it actually worked. And I was also able to confirm my suspicions as well. It actually was a sphere, a creepy-ass black sphere for that matter. Now, if I was an ancient astronaut theorist, I'd say this looks like a transmitter of some kind, but honestly, I still don't know what this is. Maybe you guys will have some theories in the comments. Eventually, I make my way back to Bleakstead to continue looking for the other hidden places. Wait, I just realized room 8 has a red glow from the candles. I wonder if Oh, you've got to be kidding. Is that a person? If it is, they aren't saying anything. Could it be a statue? The body of the person or statue is red, sort of like the rocks around the town. So probably a statue? I really hate how Grandma sits there without saying anything else, with that creepy, lifeless posture. Old ass thinks she's special, doesn't she? You're lucky this game doesn't have any weapons, Granny, or I'd beat the shit. Unfortunately, I don't think anything can be revealed around the mother and daughter in room 7, and the same goes for the other NPCs. I stepped out of the diner and noticed yet another red light. I think this is the one taken from the road, because it's really close. Not to keep making Elder Scrolls references, but it reminds me of the way shrines of the 9 divines scattered throughout Oblivion. But in Bleakstead, they almost look corrupted or sinister, like it's dangerous to even be around them, the exact opposite of the feelings the way shrines in Oblivion evoke. More runes? I can't read these runes. Placing my head on the text, words dig their way into my brain. We had wandered, climbing through the dirt and dust, clawing our way towards her voice. She called for us. We found her out there, in a pool of her own blood. So the matriarch of dirt was a person that died and somehow transformed into mountains, rocks, and sand? Then their blood drained, forming a river? Yeah, I'm not buying it. This has to be a metaphoric expression or something because that just doesn't make any sense. Before searching for the other locations, I noticed an altar directly in the center of the shrine beneath the runes, and winced at the thought of what this giant bowl was used for. Anyway, we should go to the mound of dirt and find that shed. Oh, well, that was easy enough. Boy, I'm not sure if I even want to open the door. It looks a bit claustrophobic, and creepy. Well, here we go. Pick up the crowbar? Oh, thanks, I suppose? Maybe we can open those motel rooms now at least. Let's go try it. Use crowbar on boards? Cha-ching! What is that? Wind the music box. I want to move and get away, but I can't. I'm locked into watching, forced to watch. Are those tentacles? What the hell is happening? This is some Courage the Cowardly Dog type shit, and I'm not liking it at all. But as far as I can tell, nothing happened after playing the music box. I can't play the piano, and the grandfather clock doesn't work either, so what just happened? It allows me to play it again, so I do. While doing so, I realize inside the music box, it seems to be filled with red rock dust. A bit suspicious, wouldn't you say? Look, I don't know what the significance of the red rocks play in Bleakstead, but it has to be huge. I mean, we've found them everywhere so far. But anyway, before we look for the door, let's use the crowbar on that other room. Tentacles. There are now giant tentacles protruding from the desert, surrounding the shrines we've discovered. And I know they're tentacles because if you pay close attention, you'll notice they never fork out like a plant or maybe some kind of spike. I try clicking them, but nothing seems to happen. I also can't use the camera on them. Wait a second. Not only are there giant protruding tentacles, there's also an enormous statue accompanying them, intimidatingly looming over Bleakstead. And wouldn't you know, it's the same exact statue we saw in room 8. Very remarkable indeed, but why did the music box cause this to happen? Very strange. While trying to break into room 6 using the crowbar, I get a message saying, "There's nothing interesting in here." Ironic because as I pointed out before, the room is full of room 6 doors. But as I said, we'll talk about it later. As of right now though, it seems this room may have not been finished by the developer because of time restraint or something like that. I really don't know. The only thing left to find now are the strange spires and the strange door. Since we have a good idea where the door is and we have no idea where the spires are, I'm gonna try and find the spires first and maybe we'll learn some more lore along the way. After wandering around with my camera held up for about 10 minutes straight, I finally found another red light along the black wall. These have to be the spires, along with more runes. Placing my head on the text, words dig their way into my brain. They lived here for the rest of their lives, waiting for their goddess. They built temples and monoliths from her corpse. And all of a sudden, I'm sick to my stomach. Let's get this straight. The matriarch of dirt died, and in doing so produced mountains, sand, and a healing river. Furthermore, it seems they were expecting her to come back, but it sounds like she never did. Just how big was this matriarch of dirt? There's no way it was a person for obvious reasons, so I'm starting to think that it was some kind of creature they were worshipping. But let's go ahead and move on to this strange door, as it's called. Maybe we'll find some more answers. I followed the path leading to the massive black wall, and once I reached the door, I used the camera, and... aha! I knew that door had to be here. This is finally it. The door leading to the whispers. Alright, here goes nothing. Nothing? Literally nothing? Oh, an enormous red mountain range and black tentacles extruding from the ground alongside it, and the river, blood red. Is this the matriarch's blood? I don't think that loose page was being metaphorical anymore, although whoever or whatever the matriarch of dirt was, she had to have been enormous to create such mountains. As I approach the structure, the electrostatic whispers grow stronger, seeming to be coming from the red mountains. The sand, it almost seems to be growing over the red rock. What a weird staircase. The deeper I head into the mountains, the more obvious it becomes that the source is nearby, reverberating throughout the mountain range. And the tentacles almost seem to be guarding the passageway. The whispers are screeching at me now, and looking back at this footage made me remember it gave me chills at this very moment. I think I'm at the source, the heart of whatever this is. Is that another structure? It's black, just like the wall. Hey, it's more of those statues. In columns? What the? Welcome home. Oh, I guess that was the end? Okay, what the hell was that? Welcome home? What did any of that mean? The truth is, I really don't know. However, based on the evidence I've gathered through dialogue, world objects, and specific details, I've been able to develop a handful of theories that could explain what's really going on in the town of Bleakstead. Now, before we dive in, I need to preface the segment of the video by saying a few of these theories I'm about to provide are quite outlandish, and there are actually a lot of moving parts. With that being said, I have a favor to ask of you. Please hang in there and bear with me. I'll try to explain everything to the best of my ability, but even then, there are some things I can't quite explain, or my theories may not fit perfectly and won't check all the boxes, because I myself am going off into unfamiliar territory. The topics we'll be talking about next involve cults, ancient rituals, ancient archaeology, and Lovecraftian cosmic horror. But that's where you can come in. And if you have anything to add or corrections to make with my speculation, then feel free to comment them down below. Who knows, you may even have your own theories. Now, with the app session over, let's list the things that we know for a fact or that are most likely happening in Bleakstead first. Number 1. The game's time period is either set during the 1970s or sometime in the 2000s, considering the fact that the Tattered newspaper confirmed a freeway was built through the Arizona desert in 1952, and considering almost all of the objects in the game, like furniture, TVs, the radio in the diner, and even the wheelbarrow by the mound of dirt behind the diner. So it's safe to say that this is during or after the 1970s. Of course, there are computers and video game controllers, and more importantly the laptop in the diner, so that would mean that the timeline is more likely during the 2000s, unless there are multiple timelines overlapping, causing this town to be stuck in the past. But we'll get into all that later. Number 2. This is an easy one. The town of Bleakstead is located somewhere in the Arizona desert, as alluded to in the newspaper. Number 3. These red rocks, scattered all around the town, have some kind of significance. And here are the things that we don't know for sure. Pretty much everything. I mean, seriously, why does our character decide to snoop through the photographer's laptop, especially in an unknown town you just arrived in 10 minutes ago? Of course, through that, we learn the photographer is in distress, but that doesn't explain our character's decision making. Is our character just that kind, or is there something else afoot? Why does the screen flash red when interacting with the laptop? Why are there red rocks on almost every table? Why do all the NPCs seem to know something that we don't? And why is static electricity permeating throughout their bodies besides the mother and daughter? Where are all the other NPCs? What's going on in room 6? Why is there a music box in room 2 that summons a skyscraper-sized statue and tentacles? What even are these statues? How does the old lady know how to perform these rituals? What's up with the gigantic black wall with a secret door allowing access to an alternate hellish landscape? And speaking of, what even is this place? Why does this arrogant asshole piss me off so much? Look, you get the point. I can make a video just asking questions. So let's attempt to answer some of these questions. A good starting point would be a question everyone probably has when starting the game. Why do almost all of the NPCs have static electricity permeating throughout their bodies? To answer that question, I actually went down a little rabbit hole. You see, in Little Nightmares 2, another indie horror game, there are these regular-looking TVs that can teleport you to different locations and even dimensions. Forgive me if I got any of that wrong, I haven't played the games in about 3 years. Anyways, you're probably expecting me to say the same thing about Bleakstead. The static NPCs all travel through the TVs and somehow that transformed them, blah blah blah. Oh, how generic. Well, yes, but no. I actually did think that maybe was the case. But honestly, what we're getting ready to dive into involving the red rocks, the TV portal travel theory is pretty weak in comparison. However, the different dimensions theory stuck with me because it kinda makes sense. I mean, think about it. Remember I mentioned that the radio is very reminiscent of a 1970s radio? I didn't add that for fluff. I was being serious, because it actually is. Or how about all of the TVs throughout the motel rooms? None are flat screened, when we know good and well that flat screens must exist when there is a laptop in the diner. I didn't really realize this during my first handful of playthroughs, but once I noticed this detail, it made me go back to the drawing board and erase my TV teleportation hypothesis because it just didn't make much sense anymore. Because my new theory involved timeline overlap. Let me explain. After realizing that these two items shouldn't be in the same timeline together, but are, I went on a lengthy crusade, researching and dating every single item in Bleakstead I could find. From light fixtures, chairs, doorknobs, shovels, wheelbarrows, cash registers, vending machines, newspaper vending machines, bus stop benches, couches, refrigerators, ovens, trailers. Okay, you get it. But what's really fascinating is most of these items I could find information on pointed in the direction of them being 1970s styled objects. In particular, the interior design of the motel rooms, the TVs, the radio, refrigerators, cash registers, clocks, and even the couch pattern design in all of the trailers. But as I've said before, there's the problem of the laptop, the video game controller, and the other computer. From what I know and the information I could find, it seems we can comfortably place the computer in the 80s to 90s range. After doing an unhealthy amount of research, the closest matching controller I could find is the Apple Pippin, which was a failed video game console computer that cost $600 in 1996. Yes, this was a real thing I somehow had no idea about. and it's no surprise it failed considering the price. But I digress. As you can see though, it doesn't look like a carbon copy. Furthermore, the console is nowhere to be found, so maybe I'm looking a little too far into this, and Valerie just used a readily available 3D model, but that's neither here nor there. So what does all of this mean? Well, somehow, some way, these time periods are overlapping in the universe of Bleakstead. The theory goes like this: the town of Bleakstead was transported to a different plane of existence entirely that has no restraint on time itself. Or, in other words, when you're playing through Bleakstead, you're existing in a completely different dimension than what we consider to be the normal reality. Now, that theory sounds alright and could work, but it still doesn't explain all of the other shenanigans happening in Bleakstead, so I'm not going to bother delving into it any further. Now, let's talk about my main theory that pretty much explains every question we have, but I warn you, this is the part where things may get a little confusing, as we'll be delving into Lovecraftian lore. Truthfully, I'm likely going to get some things wrong, as the lore in this universe is so convoluted, and I'm very new to the Cthulhu mythos. However, that gives us much room to speculate. But to kick this topic off, I think it would be wise to give some context as to what Lovecraftian lore actually is, in case you're completely unfamiliar with the genre. If you're anything like me, I first learned of Lovecraftian fiction from Eldritch God memes. I'll flash a few on screen and maybe they'll ring a bell. A few years ago, when these distressed or schizophrenic memes, as people like to call them, started popping up, I didn't even know what Eldritch actually meant until I did some research. The word Eldritch alone, in a nutshell, basically means being uncanny, unearthly, or weird in a supernatural way. However, Eldritch in the context of gods makes it a far more fantastical concept, making it a little more difficult to comprehend. And, well, that's the point actually, because the conception of Eldritch gods mainly originated from the novels of H.P. Lovecraft. He was an author of horror fiction and is commonly known as the father of supernatural horror in general. Sadly, after Lovecraft's passing in 1937, only then would he be truly recognized for his incredible writings and accomplishments. Did this just become a biography? But anyways, long story short, Lovecraft basically created the cosmic horror genre single-handedly through dozens of books and novels that emphasized the horror of the unknowable and incomprehensible. In comparison to jump scares or shocking gore, the fear of the unknown in Lovecraft's worlds relies mainly on the concept of possible enigmatic extraterrestrial beings or gods lurking amongst the stars, while some lie dormant beyond the stars in a deep slumber in the vast, infinite void of space, waiting to be awoken. Other common themes throughout Lovecraft's writings emphasize forbidden knowledge that may drive the reader into madness at the very sight of it, though the ones drove into madness are among the lucky few, as, more often than not, viewing such knowledge can be lethal, for insignificant mortals are not meant to read such things. Interestingly, the works of Lovecraft and his themes of horror still live on today through lots of pop culture. But what does any of this have to do with Bleakstead? After much thought, research, and investigation, I've come to the conclusion Bleakstead exists in some sort of Lovecraftian dimension, or at the very least, it's heavily inspired by the Cthulhu mythos. In the beginning of my investigation in search of answers, after my first few playthroughs, I hyper-focused on the root of all of the insanity, the ritual the old lady has us perform, for very obvious reasons. Firstly, why does our character not once question anything on the list? Most normal people would factory reset after an old lady asks you to fetch her a corpse's rib. I mean, sure, you could say most people would check out after learning a photographer disappeared after following whispers, but performing a ritual with a stranger is taking it to a whole other level. And we do it without question. So I feel this either means one of two things. Number one, our character is currently dreaming and we're actually still on the bus, meaning nothing is supposed to make sense since it's all just a dream. 2. Our character is in a plane of existence that takes place within the Cthulhu mythos, and these whispers are somehow influencing us to make decisions. However, number 1 is kind of boring and lazy, and it just seems like a cop-out to me. Maybe you guys can speculate further on that in the comments. With that being said though, before we get into the main meat of this theory, I should strongly emphasize I am no expert or enthusiast on the Cthulhu mythos by any means. I'm simply just a fan. I knew nothing about Lovecraft or his writings prior to making this video. Furthermore, as previously stated, the Lovecraftian mythos is purposely convoluted and mystifying. And to make matters more difficult, many authors have attempted to expand upon the mythos as Lovecraft himself encouraged it. Therefore, there isn't really an official canon, With that out of the way, I will say, I try to stick as close to the source material from Lovecraft himself as possible, but some of my theory has borrowed elements from other authors' editions. Also, there is a list of the sources I've used in the description, just in case I didn't mention something within the video, with the main sources being the books themselves and mainly the Lovecraft wiki. Now, while I've been rambling for the past 5 minutes, you're probably wondering why I've come to this conclusion in the first place, right? Well, let's run through the evidence that I've gathered. Firstly, the runes. Once you get the camera and find all of the hidden locations, the most absurd feature these megalithic anomalies possess are the runes floating in the air. At first, you can't read them until you place your head upon them, whatever that means, but upon doing so, only then can you comprehend the runes, which then goes on to drop some major cryptic lore that only gets more interesting with each new hidden location you discover. So let's start out by understanding what each location seems to be telling us in chronological order. From the 3 locations with runes, the altar seems to be the first in chronological order, the pyramid with wings second, the third are the spires. So let's start with the altar. Altar. We had wandered, climbing through the dirt and dust, clawing our way towards her voice. She called for us. We found her there, in a pool of her own blood. Pyramids. We watched her bleed out into the dirt. We pressed our faces into the ground, the faint moonlight overhead. Spires. They lived there for the rest of their lives, waiting for their goddess. They built temples and monoliths from her corpse. Their bodies joined the same soil. Ambiguous, right? Especially that last bit about building monoliths from her corpse, implying the very monuments we read these runes from were built from someone's corpse. But assuming we're talking about regular human beings, the runes may have you believe that the story is merely a mythological tale, rather than a literal story. After all, the runes are next to what appears to be an ancient monument. Well, let's make things a bit more strange. Remember that note we found behind the diner that read, "This is a snippet from an old history book on the region. People from all around would come to drink from the river. A community was set up in the area. A whole industry grew around the healing waters until it dried up, shriveled, and died." Healing waters? There aren't any Oh, wait. I almost forgot about the massive red river beyond the wall. And the vials. The vials have to be holding the same red substance. Oh, and that reminds me, there are 2 pages with the same message. One can be found outside the burned mobile home, and the other behind the motel beside a dumpster. They both read, "This appears to be a snippet from a diary entry. Grandmother used to tell us stories of the old ones when the matriarch of dirt passed on. She bled out into the earth. Nails and teeth became mountains, her flesh the sand, and her blood the river." What the hell are the old ones, and who was the matriarch of dirt? For the matriarch of dirt to cause a river to form on this scale, she had to have been massive. Then afterwards, why did the river dry up? Needless to say, after I put 2 and 2 together and realized these pages have to be talking about beings on an enormous scale, I knew I had to begin my research to find anything that could possibly provide answers to this mystery. However, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Hours and hours of Cthulhu Mythos research, going from website to website, reading books, listening to books, all to arrive at my answer. Finally, I concocted the best theory that I could, and it all started with the simple phrase, "the old ones," in the diary entry. At the time, I had no idea what that term actually meant. As I said before, I just associated it with eldritch memes. But the true meaning of great old ones, or just old ones, is only somewhat understood. Much like most of Lovecraft's universe, the old ones are typically described as malignant, squid-like alien abominations that behold great amounts of power beyond human understanding, and on very rare occasions, the very sight of an old one is enough to cause a person to fall into insanity. However, not because they look scary. It's the very idea of what an old one represents. It's the harsh realization that you are nothing more than just a speck of dust in this creature's realm. All understanding of reality is broken. All preconceived thought on the order of the universe is shattered. The old ones are the archetype of existentialism on an incomprehensible degree. They hardly even acknowledge humanity, because we have no influence on their existence, despite living along a large number of them on Earth. And if this isn't terrifying enough, an oversimplification of the old ones would be that they are essentially the offspring deities of the outer gods, which are even further beyond our comprehension. The old ones vary in many sizes and can even be hundreds of meters tall. However, the outer gods can be galaxy or even universe-sized, and can access dimensions we cannot even perceive. They are also far more powerful on an immeasurable scale, despite them residing far beyond our solar system, exerting their influences onto the universe from deep space. The goals of the Outer Gods, or Old Ones, are only marginally understood, but it is known that they are usually not interested in human affairs. In spite of this, we still see them as antagonistic by design. However, truthfully, they aren't moral nor immoral. They are so far beyond our intelligence that the concept of morality, good or evil, has no bearing on these beings. But yeah, anyway, so I won't make this video longer than it has to be, and to preserve everyone's sanity, I'll cut to the chase. I believe the Old Ones mentioned in the diary are in reference to the Old Ones we just discussed, for numerous reasons. Let's start off by trying to solve one of the greatest mysteries in Bleakstead. Then we can work our way backwards, and I'll try my best to explain everything along the way, and hope I don't leave any plot holes behind. Firstly, what's the deal with the red rocks? Why does every NPC have one nearby? And why is there a red river flowing from the red mountains? And most importantly, who is the matriarch of dirt? And did she really cause this as the diary claimed? Well, simply put, yes, I believe so. From my research, the most plausible explanation is that the matriarch of dirt is actually Ubosathla, a great old one that resides beneath the earth. There isn't much information regarding this entity, but according to the Lovecraft wiki, it's described as being amorphous, or in other words, it has no definite shape. It is capable of spontaneously generating single-celled life forms and is believed to be the creator of all life on Earth. Basically, in short, I believe the Red Mountains were created by Ubosathla, and these rocks have this red color because they're actually alien organisms, hence their ability to bleed blood that has healing properties. Although technically they aren't aliens since they were created alongside us. Anyway, moving on. Why is it that all the NPCs in the game have a red rock by their side or nearby? Possibly it's because they're cool to look at? Doubtful. Perhaps the locals rub them like genie lamps to grant them wishes? Maybe because the owners like to enter them into snail races? Nah. Well, if we refer back to the history page that can be found behind the diner, it's quite the simple explanation. We already knew that the rocks themselves can bleed, and it's likely the Bleakstead locals are chewing on or eating the rocks to get at the blood. Alternatively, they keep the rocks for safekeeping, to then later wound them to bottle the blood and store for later if they ever need its healing capabilities. However, there used to be a massive river in the area that also had healing properties, so much so that an industry was built around it. Therefore, that answers our question. Since the river dried up long ago, the residents are now forced to wound these rocks to harvest its blood, because it has the ability to heal. But with this being answered, another question takes its place. Why did the river dry up? If we are to assume my Lovecraftian theory is correct, we need to dive even deeper into the Cthulhu mythos to find our answer. First and foremost, if you were to examine the geographic features of and around this town, there's a good chance you've noticed something very quickly: this immense black wall. Your first thought is that it probably reminds you of the SpongeBob episode Rock Bottom, but once you think about it a little bit longer, you may arrive at the conclusion this wall was built to protect something. Aha! It was built to protect the river. But wait, it supposedly died, alluding to the fact that it dried up and disappeared, along with the industry that was built around it, with this wooden building presumably being the remnants of that. So why would the people of Bleakstead build a huge magical wall that requires you to solve a secret puzzle just to gain access? And in doing so, closing the town off from the rest of the river, making them resort to wounding rocks? That just doesn't make sense to me. And where the hell did they learn how to use magic and enchant a doorway, with the other enchanted item being the key? Nonetheless, you may recall at the end of my playthrough, I noticed and pointed out a black structure off in the distance. Well, if you ignore the statues and walk over toward the structure, you'll notice puddles from the pre-existing river, as if the river was sucked up or evaporated. Then once you pass the puddles, you'll really get an idea of just how big this mega structure is, making you wonder what it's used for. There are spidery legs all around the structure, jutting out and piercing the ground, making them very reminiscent of anchors to keep the structure stable. If you get up high enough to see the midsection of the structure, you'll discover a bright white light shining down from a doorway, perhaps? It took an embarrassing long time for me to realize, but the megastructure is most likely some sort of enormous extractor, either mining the red rock beneath it or collecting the water. This extractor is one of the only two structures to have a black appearance. That and the wall. Both seem to be made of the same black material. Since the people of Bleakstead seem to be oblivious as to how the river dried up, that pretty much tells us this isn't their extractor. So whose is it? It's only then we realize something far more sinister is taking place within the Red Mountains. But this is where the rest of my theory comes in. As a matter of fact, I don't think the wall was even constructed by people. Or if it wasn't willingly at least. There's a book by H.P. Lovecraft titled At the Mountains of Madness that shares the horrors an expedition faced while drilling into, exploring, and surveying Antarctica. This book details the many abnormalities the expedition team faced while being on the desolate continent for almost a year. The information given in the book is quite vast, so I'll just give a brief summary of their findings and mainly focus on what's most important to solve our own mystery. Throughout the expedition's drilling procedure, countless fossils were found, including birds, dinosaurs, and other animals. However, at one point, they drilled into a cave, eventually leading them to discover the carcass of 14 unknown vegetable, animal-like creatures frozen in ice. Upon further inspection of the well-preserved creatures, they were described as being 8 foot in height, with the torso being barrel-shaped almost like a vegetable, and also having large wings giving them a 7-foot wide wingspan. They had tentacles, and most strangely, they had starfish-like appendages at both ends of their bodies. The expedition team took an even weirder turn, however, once they eventually discovered a monstrous, abandoned megacity within the Antarctic mountains. There were countless details given about the town, though most importantly noted was the use of bizarre architecture, art, and sculptures. The architecture that's described is very similar to the strange architecture found in Bleakstead, with impossibly built structures, including pyramidal structures, needle-like spires, cylindrical shafts with discs at the top, everything apparently being unimaginably different from that of human architectural techniques, with glaciers even forming around the buildings rather than crushing them and carving their way through the city, alluding to the architectural techniques we're seemingly unfamiliar with that would make our structures strong enough to resist glaciers. Or perhaps some sort of magic was used during the building process. Nevertheless, what's most significant to our mystery is the art and sculptures within the city that were used to depict in great detail the past of the species that built this city. The species is called the Elder Things, and it seems the Elder Things created all life on Earth 1 billion years ago, after their arrival from space. Through an unknown process using proto-matter, the Elder Things learned of this method ostensibly through millions of years of technological innovation and colonizing other planets. Through this method, many experiments were conducted, with humans evidently being created by mere accident while they were just joking around. At this moment in time, we were just a servitor race, and would be kept around as a food source and amusement. They originally constructed most of their cities underwater, eventually migrating to land, with Antarctica ultimately becoming the population center. Most of their structures consisted of stone, however they even used wood, and also constructed things that are recognizable to us, such as couches, tables and chairs, window shutters, etc. Over the course of hundreds of millions of years, they engaged in many battles with other alien species that also came from space, most notably Cthulhu himself and his armies, and they even managed to defend their cities from Cthulhu, though it's not exactly known how they did so. Once the Elder Things had been provoked, or had good enough reason, they seemed to use advanced direct energy weapons to defend their cities. Toward the end of their reign over Earth, they were eventually bested by climate change. Alas, over the course of 1 billion years on Earth, the species adapted to the Earth's atmosphere and weather and lost the ability of flight, meaning they also lost the ability of interstellar travel. Furthermore, supposedly over the years of their domination, the race also lost a great deal of ancient knowledge that got them to the place they were in the first place. Moreover, once Antarctica started to become colder, they had to migrate elsewhere, and with the final cherry on top, once the Elder Things started to recede back to the oceans, another mysterious advanced ancient species known as the Mi-Go showed up and finished driving them back to the oceans, with the new ruler of the Earth being the Mi-Go, described as being fungal, crustacean-like creatures with wings, large claws, and lots of antennae on their heads. According to lore, their species were known for interplanetary colonization, in search of rare metallic ores and minerals. They would carry out this objective by establishing hidden mining bases mostly within mountains, most notably the Himalayan, Appalachian, and Andes mountains. However, over time, the Mi-Go would lessen their footprint on Earth, likely due to the fact they harvested what was most valuable to them and moved on to a different planet, though it's believed the Mi-Go still operate secretly on Earth to this day. With all of this taken into consideration, it explains a lot of the mysteries within Bleakstead. Regardless, you likely noticed that this contradicts what I said earlier about Ubosathla being the matriarch of dirt and creator of all life on Earth. Well, obviously that can't be the case if the Elder Things were the actual creators, right? Well, you see, I believe the Matriarch of Dirt was a piece of Ubo rather than the actual being. A very popular theory among the Lovecraft fandom is that once the Elder Things arrived on Earth, there's a good possibility they found Ubo and surgically removed a piece from the being, essentially acting as an ingredient, basically explaining the mysterious method by which the Elder Things created all life. And it only makes sense that they would remove multiple pieces from Ubo, since the Elder Things likely created life on other habitats. What I'm trying to say is, I think that this Whispering Rock, as it's called, within the Red Mountains, was the piece that was used to create the Red Mountain Range and the river. Furthermore, since this rock was literally made from an old one, that could explain the so-called whispers that call to people. It likely has an aura or power that influences its victims to do certain things. Perhaps its influences were so strong, this is the reason the Elder Things built a settlement themselves long ago, long before humans even existed, which explains the megalithic structures. This also illustrates what the runes written at all the temples were referring to when mentioning the voice they heard when trying to make their way to their goddess. And perhaps this is the reason all the TVs are showing static, because the whispers are interrupting their signal. Additionally, these statues could possibly be protective wards the Elder Things placed long ago to safeguard the Whispering Rock. Moreover, this could also explain the wooden shack, impossible staircase, and bridge, since we now know the Elder Things commonly built buildings out of wood and bizarre structures that humans can't quite understand. Likewise, the Black Wall must have also been constructed by the Elder Things, as it was likely built to keep unwanted beings from entering. So then, why are we allowed to enter? For my theory to work, the only way I can explain this is that, frankly, the entire town of Bleakstead is trying to indoctrinate you into a cult. It's possible these humans could have been indoctrinated by the Elder Things themselves to be servants, which would explain why it seems like they're all in on the scheme together, by saying things like, "You're finally here," or how the shopkeeper already knew you were there to buy candles. This could also explain why the NPCs are static, and maybe that's just what full corruption looks like. Additionally, the camera could act as a filter of sorts and weed out the true cultists, as only the ones who completed the ritual would be able to locate the device that would allow the user to progress to the Whispering Rock. All the while, the influences of the Whispering Rock grow stronger by the minute, and your self-control dwindles rapidly. Maybe that's what the red flashes throughout the game symbolize, your descent into madness. If this theory is to be considered, it's entirely possible that the Whispering Rock, or Heart of the Mountains as I've nicknamed it, immediately starts calling to you once you arrive at Bleakstead, brainwashing you in the process, similar to the One Ring in Lord of the Rings. And possibly this piece of Ubo was designed to encode the victim with ritualistic knowledge of how to ask the Old Ones for help. In our case, the old lady asked one of the Old Ones to help us find the photographer. Speaking of, who exactly did we ask for help anyway? Because I've already tried matching the ritual circle and even the runes on the megalithic structures to any symbols from the Lovecraft mythos, to no avail. But to be fair, there weren't very many symbols drawn by Lovecraft himself, so there isn't very much to go off of that's canonical per se. As I've said, according to lore, almost all of the Old Ones don't even acknowledge human existence, since we are hardly even on the radar of being a threat. However, there is an Old One that's known to interfere with human lives, and that's Nyarlathotep, or otherwise known as the Crawling Chaos, which is quite fitting as he loves to cause chaos by manipulating his victims and takes great pleasure in driving inferior beings into madness, specifically humans. He's sadistic, cruel, cunning, and most terrifyingly of all, a master shapeshifter. It is said that he has an infinite amount of forms that he can take on at any given moment, using these forms to deceive his victims. Although his true intentions aren't understood, it's known that he is a servant of the outer gods, specifically the most horrifying of them all, his father, Azathoth, widely regarded as one of, if not the most powerful outer god in existence. But to spare you the details, Azathoth is big and scary. So scary, in fact, that there are creatures dancing and playing music around him in the void of deep space to keep him asleep, because evidently once he awakens, all of our known existence will come to an end, because the entire universe as we know it is literally his dream. Back to Nyarlathotep, right. But you already know where I'm going with this. Nyarlathotep is the one behind the indoctrination of Bleakstead, likely just so he can entertain himself and brainwash people into joining his cult and worshipping him. The Elder Things were supposedly atheistic, so it couldn't have been their idea to pass on ritualistic knowledge, much less help Nilar. But why would a piece of Ubo Sathla have any interest in helping Nilar? This is where I hit a dead end of sorts, until I realized it's possible that Nilar hijacked the Whispering Rock, or in other words, the Elder Things' technology. There's also one more factor we're forgetting, the Mi-Go. It's widely known that the Mi-Go mainly worshipped, you guessed it, Nyarlathotep. And to take it a step further, it's even been suggested that they work closely together, with the Mi-Go seemingly carrying out tasks for Nilar, without the Mi-Go really questioning what they're doing. In fact, people aren't really sure if the Mi-Go are even evil. The closest to evil the Mi-Go gets is when they dissect intelligent humans for their brains to keep for research. Okay, I'm kidding, that's obviously not good, but what I'm saying is that they aren't doing it out of spite. Think of it as having an ant farm. You can make the argument that ants trapped in a little farm probably isn't good for them, right? It's cluttered and small, it's not really natural, and giant primates peer through your little plastic window just to watch you shuffle sand around. Anyway, you get the point. But that doesn't make us evil, right? It's also likely the Mi-Go don't have any emotions like we do, and they're curious creatures, which leads them to explore, research, and study, which in turn makes them a formidable foe, because their curiosity has led them to very advanced areas of science. It's even been hinted at in the novels that the Mi-Go were actually interested in making contact with humans and revealing their existence eventually. But let's not stray too far off. Let's finally finish the theory. Based on what's been inferred in the lore, the Mi-Go worship and work with the Nyarlathotep in hopes he will give them knowledge about the Older Ones and how the universe works. Or more to my point, the extractor belongs to the Mi-Go, not the Elder Things. I believe the Mi-Go found the Red Mountain Range and took notice of its strange healing properties, and after realizing what they found, this resulted in a war, where the Mi-Go either killed or drove the Elder Things off their settlement, and in doing so, it destroyed many of their monuments and buildings, with only a few remaining. But the Mi-Go didn't really care about any of this. They just began doing what they do best, harvesting the river and mining mountains. But in doing so, this drained the alien organism of its strength, weakening its whispers, which is why there aren't any mentions of these whispers in any of the pages lying around Bleakstead. So once humans arrived in 1952 and established their industry, they were already too late. At that point, the river was rapidly fading. During this time, the Mi-Go made an agreement with Nyarlathotep to not take the heart of the Red Mountains along with them, and instead leave it for himself, as Nilar wanted to use the whispering frequency to his advantage, because he saw potential for his own perfect little playground. And so, using his great power, he easily bypassed the protective wards and revived the dying organism, bestowing his dark influences upon the Matriarch of Dirt. With the goddess's original duty being to create life as intended by the Elder Things, her new task would be to destroy life. Now with the matriarch being corrupted, tentacles began to spring from the ground, symbolizing her corruption, and her whispers sounding more like cries for help now, crying out in pain. Nyarlathotep, armed with his new play toy, began killing some humans and stealing others for his own dark purposes, keeping the rest to use as bait, to lure in anyone who happened to be passing by in Bleakstead, just to torment the humans by subjecting them to a circus of simulated scenarios, all for his amusement, and larger goal which isn't known, nor meant to be known, as it would drive the learner mad, changing the key objects each time, burning down different buildings, swapping out humans for others, allowing access to some rooms while closing off others, all based on the temperament of the victim in which he manages to lure in, all just for his own twisted psychotic satisfaction. But hey, that's just a game Okay, overused joke, I get it. All in all, whether my theory is correct or not, I have to say that Valerie absolutely nailed the subtle creepiness of everything in the world. From the way the NPCs look, all the way down to the simple liminal spaces, it's simply brilliant. So make sure you go give the game a try. Valerie even has a choice between downloading the game for free or leaving a tip, which is very kind. I'll leave a link to the game in the description. This video definitely had me on one of the craziest wild goose chases I've ever been on, and it's been a ton of fun. However, if you have any ideas for upcoming videos, be sure to leave them down in the comments, the Discord, or even tweeting them at me. If I'm being honest with you though, guys, I feel like I dug way too far into this for my own good. Valerie probably just made up their own lore and doesn't even know what a Lovecraft is. But anyway, if you're new here and you made it this far, please take a few moments to subscribe. It's a small click for you, but it means the world to me as it helps the channel grow. And if you'd like to support me financially, I've also opened up a Patreon page with only one membership plan as of right now. For just $2 a month, you can have your name featured at the end of all my videos in the credits. You can also become a free member and gain access to some sneak peeks of behind the scenes or whatever else I decide to throw on there. If you do decide to become a member of the Patreon, I greatly appreciate you. With all of that said, I'll see you guys again later. What's this? Is this a continuation of Bleakstead? A part 2? Oh, Jesus Christ.